Hey guys, Desolator Magic Aaron, it's finally here and it's half as glorious as we all hoped. Today they announced that 25 cards in 4 formats are getting banned or modified. Either way, tweaked because they're overpowered as balls. Since the second one is Alchemy and it is ridiculously long, that's just gonna have to be video 2. But for now, let's cover just the ban announcements. And of course, this video was sponsored by Into the AM. More info on them later, but I decided to have a little fun with this one. I'm going to read Wizards' explanations for all of these things, and every time they say something blatantly incorrect or borderline misleading, or anywhere in between, I'm going to change into a different Into the AM shirt. I own quite a few, but do I have enough to deal with Wizards' bullshit? We'll find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z! So first, let's talk standard. Alrune's Epiphany, aka Grandpa Turns, he is gone, banned. We've also got Divide by Zero. You might be saying, isn't that in the same deck? No, that's in the Mr. Krabs Lier deck, which occasionally runs turns just to piss you off slightly more. And then we've got Faceless Haven, which should have been banned about 100 years ago, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I wanted that banned instead of Exalted. Even though life gain is that egregious, Faceless Haven isn't necessary in life gain decks because they just win anyway. They don't need to protect themselves. And people also play it in, the Snow deck, which is, borderline because of Elder Guard and Avalanche Caller. And then it's also in the, 100% control I'm just going to win with Manlands deck, which can still play Crawling. It can still play Hall of the Storm Giants. But the fact that this hit 3 different decks, yeah, Faceless had to go. And in my opinion, they should just stop making Manlands. Oh, I take that back. Make it so you can only activate it when it's not your turn. I would be perfectly fine with that. It is an amazing blocker. So there's also a legacy ban, there's also a historic ban, and like I said, there's, I believe, 19 cards being, well, I guess not universally weakened. They actually made some more powerful, but we'll get into that in the second video. Here, let me give you a little teaser from that article, though. The first line is, since Alchemy's launch, we've been happy with the overall deck diversity in this format. What's that? Is it the I have to change shirts alarm because Wizards is full of shit again? Okay, the community wasn't happy, and neither was anybody at Wizards with the results of anything involving Alchemy. So in Standard, they say, in the October 2021 Banner Restricted Update, we announced no changes to Standard in anticipation of Crimson Vow's release soon following. See, that was a mistake. You don't shake things up right before you shake things up, but everything that they just banned was clearly going to still be a problem. I don't know what about Crimson Vow they thought would make Alrune's Epiphany, Divide by Zero, or Faceless Haven go away, because nothing. And it didn't. It just really added like one more degenerate deck and then added fuel to the already existing ones. I mean, they had the card list. They could have just looked at it and said, oh yeah, those decks are going to get an upgrade and they're already ban-worthy. Oops. So then they say, since then, we've heard community feedback. I feel like I should put the previous shirt back on that was so true. So they've heard feedback that there hasn't been enough change in the metagame over time. Yeah, we all saw this coming. How dumb are you? You should have banned something in October and November and December and January, probably February. While a good number of decks are seeing success on the MTG Arena ladders, that is true. I mean, deck diversity in Diamond and Mythic are high. It's just there's certain ones that nobody wants to play against. That's not the point. Oh, and they say the different decks have strengths and weaknesses against the others, which is true. The most played archetypes, so tier 0.9, the ones that really are problematic, have remained largely the same over the past months. That's because, now stay with me here, Wizards, I know this is complicated, they're overpowered bullshit that can't be beaten. If something in Crimson Vow, or Kamigawa for that matter, came out more powerful than the decks we were seeing in October, I wouldn't want to see what that is, and I wouldn't want to play against that either. You've pushed the limit way too far, and I hate to cite this for the 100th time, but it's true. Mark Rosewater himself, in his own fan group, took 2 polls, Twitter and his blog, and the results suggested that well over 80% of people were not happy with the power level of Standard and wanted it lower. And I believe that was about 2 years ago, so they've had time to adjust. They just haven't done it. So to say, oh, maybe Crimson Vow will have even more powerful broken crap in it. Well, I hope not, which is why you should have taken action in October or earlier. I mean, let's just back up. You shouldn't have printed all 3 of these cards in the first place. So I just wanted to lay the groundwork for that. Let's go on to what else they said here. As such, we have a set of changes targeted at some of the top decks, including Blue-Red Epiphany and other blue control decks. Yeah, the Lier Trampoline deck. Oh, keeps going. I thought that was the end. Mono White Aggro, which they did nothing against, and Mono Green Aggro, which they did nothing against. What the hell? Do they know what cards they banned? None of them are even green, and Faceless Haven isn't really played in white life gain. What the hell? I don't see Vorinclex on that list. What do you mean you did something about green? Did they ban Blizzard Brawl and I just missed it? What are they talking about? Our goal is to create some churn among the current top decks. Ooh, there's a shirt change. Didn't you just get done saying that you're happy with the level of deck diversity and that you're just targeting certain decks? They gave a reason, but it was wrong because they got rid of the you don't even get to play your deck card, the you don't get to stick a single permanent card, and the you can play your deck, but I have a land that says I can't lose the game card. Now, what do those three have in common? Is it that I don't get to play my deck and they've mentioned that like non-interactive shutdown crap in other ban announcements when they banned other turn cards? I wonder if that was the real reason. What do you think? This is an annoyingness ban. This is not a tier 1 diversity ban. Okay, they literally just said it. And then they give the real reason. It's actually in the same sentence. So our goal is to create some churn among the current top decks. Open up additional angles from which to attack the metagame, and leave room for more experimentation and innovation with the release of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. So, Kamigawa looks pretty weak. It looks like they powered it down to a reasonable degree. I very much reserve the right to take that back. So they want to actually sell the set, and they want people to actually buy cards from it and burn wild cards on Arena to, make new decks or upgrade, tier 1.5, B-list decks. And yeah, I want that too. What they should be worried about is the enchantment deck that already looks out of control. They didn't do anything to ban that. They should have taken out one of the white cards, or bare minimum one of the green cards from white-green life gain, because white-green semi-life gain, but really just, enchantment dump is going to work a little bit too well with the enchantment, especially white-green, it looks like, direction that Kamigawa went. And if you splash blue, because I've even seen white-blue enchantments, that's pretty good because their whole deck is flying. Oh, that's a spicy boy already. But in traditional Wizards fashion, we could always ban it later, right? Anyway, they go on to the explanations here. Alrune's Epiphany is a card we highlighted in the October announcement when we pissed everybody off and didn't ban it. I may be editorializing a little bit. So it was outlined as having potential for negative impact on metagame diversity. Yes, a card that doesn't let me play the game is very attractive to my opponents. Imagine that. At least mention somewhere in this article, please, that you banned it because of non-interactive annoyingness and because of community backlash. They better. Or I'm putting like 6 more shirts on. So while blue decks with powerful late game spells can sometimes do good work as natural predators of mid-range decks, no, nobody wants anything dragged out further than mid-range, thanks. A deck that chains together extra turns could be particularly difficult to stop. Well, and frustrating to play against. There it is. Okay. So that took one more sentence. When it represents too large of a portion of the metagame. Oh, no, nope, you went and ruined it with that last part. Shirt's coming off. That's it. Oh, so extra turn cards are fine as long as nobody plays them. Oh, well, I take it back. I guess you're right. But wait, there's more. The foretell ability of Alrune's Epiphany makes it even harder to interact with, as one of the traditional answers for big spells is hand disruption. Something else nobody wants printed in the game and that nobody plays past turn 4. Well, that's a lie. Ooh, that was a quick shirt change. Here we go again. Let me summarize what they said in the last 2 sentences. We made a mistake, foretell is bullshit, and we never should have printed this card. People are getting too much mana too quick because we power ramped the game to hell and back, and now we're getting unanticipated consequences, which is late game they just shut everything down, regardless of what deck type it is, and they only lose the red rush, which is why we haven't banned that either. Yeah, you want people to not buy cards from Kamigawa, don't do anything about goblins, and then add more goblins in Kamigawa, which was just confirmed yesterday. Good luck with that, Wizards. Can't wait to hear the next ban announcement. I mean, this goes, like, far-ish, but not far enough. Not even close. But wait till you see. I mean, like I said, 19 cards were tweaked in Alchemy. So, I think I know what format they're trying to make look attractive. And I'm not going to fall for it because I don't have the wild cards or the money to play that bullshit. I'm just not going to support your cash grabs in principle. I don't care if it's perfect. So then they go on to say something I'm a little suspect of. While not entirely dominant throughout the MTG ladders, especially in best of 1... Really, is that what you're seeing? Because that's not what I'm seeing. So, okay, while not entirely dominant through the MTG Arena ladders, especially best of 1, Alrune's Epiphany decks have been particularly popular and successful at the highest levels of competition and in tournament play. How do those things go together? How do those 2 things connect? I'm curious. They must be measuring like the Bronze and Silver League, and the reason for that would be pretty obvious. Once again, they're lying to you. Oh, shirt change. Because People aren't playing in gold on down with all runes because they won their way to a higher league. So you saying, well, they're not entirely dominant in best of one on arena in the ladders, plural, clearly referring to not just mythic. But boy, have we seen them at high level competition and tournament play. That's because they leveled out of gold with it, you dumbasses. Oh my gosh, the bullshit, seriously. Leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy me cutting through their absolute lies so that you don't start to vaguely believe, their very nice sounding surface level gaslighting of all of this. So they go on to say, even without access to All Runes Epiphany, our data gives us concern that other blue decks are poised to reduce metagame diversity by shutting out certain types of strategies. Yeah, those certain types of strategies would be all of the other strategies. The Lear Mr. Krabs yo-yo deck that just keeps bouncing shit back to my hand, it's unbeatable. You amplify the bounce so that every time I cast one thing, I get one thing. Every time you cast one thing, you get two things bounce back to hand. I don't need to tell you why the math doesn't add up. And that brings us obviously to Divide by Zero. So they say in particular, Divide by Zero gives those decks flexible early interaction that is especially effective against slower, more powerful spells and permanents. Okay, I've gotten beat by that deck in a CMC 1.8 average deck, so that's not true. Oh, shirt time! The ability of Divide by Zero to cover a variety of angles of attack frequently gives these decks enough time to interact and protect a powerful endgame softlock state, often using Lear, Disciple of the Drowned, or Hullbreaker Horror. Sorry, you meant to put and, you lying sacks of shit. And his name is Mr. Krabs. I would also accept Citizen Snips. So once again, just take everything they just said and put it together. That deck stops anything regardless of speed. They're completely and utterly misrepresenting the meta when they say, oh, it only stops slower stuff with more expensive stuff, because if you bounce a 5 cost back to hand, it's more than bouncing a 1 cost back to hand, which eventually when you're just top decking is not true. I've got the mana to cast anything, I just need anything I play to stay in play. They really honestly should have banned Lier. I mean, Divide by Zero just because of the auto fetch, which that whole lesson learn mechanic was a disaster. It's an auto fetch from outside the game. It honestly might as well be companion. It is one step away from just starting the game with an 8th card in your hand effectively, which is what companion was. If you cast Divide by Zero on turn 3, it may as well be the same thing because you get a free card of your choice. In fact, you get a 1 out of 7 choice because in best of 1, the sideboard, because it isn't 1, is limited to 7 cards instead of 15, and they thought that would fix it. They thought that would fix lesson and learned. It didn't. So they tend to do one of 3 things if you haven't been paying attention. They will go get the land fetcher lesson, which goes, obviously ramps them into a land, and color fixes them. Or they will, for 7, dump in a bunch of tokens that just absolutely stop combat in flying and on the ground. Or they go get a universal removal. And that's just a little bit too Swiss Army answer everything for a card that's already stopping what they're doing. So you're stopping what they're doing and then getting your hand-picked choice of another card that stops them from what they're doing. And then on top of that, you get a bounce effect from Mr. Krabs. I mean, it's just too damn good. And then Lear lets you cast it again, which lets you go get another card out of your graveyard and cast that again, and then cast the last lesson again. So really, they just should have banned all 3 of them. I don't think Divide by Zero is good enough, but if it stops people from playing it because net deckers are that stupid, that's fine with me. They think that the sky is falling and the world is ending because they got rid of Divide by Zero, not realizing that you can still run a deck with Lear and Hullbreaker, but they also lost their precious All Runes, so they say, therefore we're choosing to ban Divide by Zero to make blue control decks less effective against other mid-speed and slow decks and force them to be more intentional about which threats they choose to prepare for. What a clever way of saying it stops absolutely everything universally across the board. Because, once again, in the same sentence, they're like, oh, we need to make it less effective against just specifically middle speed and slower decks, but also it actually stops absolutely every threat of every type in every deck. So actually, in the first part of the sentence, we lied to you. That's like the 4th time they did that. The hell is wrong with these people? So, moving on, the most winning decks on MTG Arena Ladder, and among the most popular have been Mono White Aggro and Mono Green Aggro. And we didn't do shit against Mono Green, but we took action against White because that'll help deck diversity. Ha ha ha, f*** you. While each owes part of its success to Kaldheim still being legal for some f***ing reason. Oh, sorry, I misread that. While each owes part of its success to preying upon blue-red Epiphany decks. Wait, doesn't that contradict everything you just said about why you just banned it? I'm literally talking about people who wrote a whole article saying why they banned Divide by Zero without mentioning fetching cards from outside the game. Yeah, this whole article is a fucking lie. Both decks also have high win rates against the field, especially against many of the less popular decks on the fringes, which is why we chose to do deadass nothing against Blizzard Brawl or Vorinclex, so go yourself. We're banning enough to make it look like we did something while also secretly pushing people towards Alchemy. Faceless Haven represents a lot of the power of these monocolored aggro decks by virtue of being efficient on its own by providing resilience against creature sweepers and targeted removal. Oh, and you didn't do anything about Hall of Giants. Really, the one that's hexproof and twice the size. Really? Clearly they haven't seen white, black, blue, all manlands. Because, well, wait till tomorrow, you'll see it. It'll be the only thing left after they ban this. That and Red Rush. Oh, and Green Aggro because they did nothing about it. To weaken these two aggressive archetypes without fundamentally changing their core game plan, we banned Cat Cart. Just kidding, we banned Faceless Haven. Ha ha ha! Have fun playing against Cat Cart, you Go play Alchemy where we nerfed it. Boy, could they be more transparent? This is I'm going to change shirts again just because of that whole thing in its entirety. Oh no, I've ran out of shirts that aren't in the wash. Well, I'll just have to head over to Into the AM and use code DESTHREADS for 10% off my entire order. Link in the description. They've also got a new line of joggers and they look amazing. So now let's move on to Legacy, something I don't know or give a flying f*** about. If you play Legacy or Vintage, you're actually playing a different game than Magic the Gathering because it doesn't resemble old school, it doesn't resemble anything fair or balanced, and whoever goes first wins, and you're an idiot. Sincerely, everyone in the community who has a brain. But I guess I'll read this just to figure out why the hell they banned Regavan, which actually I think I'm actually familiar with why that is. Look at the last couple Legacy bans. And look when the cards were printed if you think that there hasn't been power creep in the last couple years. In fact, we recently saw, I think it's the second card being banned, not restricted, banned from Vintage, a format where they don't ban cards. It was a companion card if you don't quite remember. So they go on to say, last summer's Modern Horizons 2 release introduced several high-impact cards to the Legacy card pool because we're a bunch of careless morons. All we care about is money and selling you overpowered shit, and then we pull the rug out from under you and ban it later. Ha ha ha, f*** you. Wow, this article writer's getting savage. I'm totally not editorializing this as I go. So since then, we've been watching the metagame develop, that's one way to put it, and listening to community feedback. Really, you heard some of that, did ya? While player feedback was not unanimous because Legacy players are entitled, opinionated, mincing assholes who always think that they're right, many have expressed concerns about blue-red Delver decks and their opponents shuffling their $10,000 cards too hard, which picked up on some powerful new options from recent sets. Although recent tournaments, including Eternal Weekend in November, whatever the hell that was, haven't been conclusive in terms of blue-red Delver's overall win rate alone, we still printed Delver in Standard because f*** you. We actually get most of our ideas from the list of cards that people hate the most. In fact, every time we ask Mark to design something, he just opens up the Storm Scale and starts picking things that are 7 and up from the list. A list that he himself made and ranked. Most of the most egregious entries were designed by him. You'd think one of those things would be a red flag. And yet, no, we put Storm, we put Infect back in Standard because, honestly, if you haven't gotten it yet, f*** you, the player and the customer. Seriously, f*** you. So anyway, this garbage deck has represented a very large portion of the metagame and posted many top finishes. They should be thankful that something that wins on like turn 3 instead of 2 is winning Legacy. Anyway, Magic Online League data shows Red-Blue Delver at over a 56% non-mirror match win rate. And we all know their limit is 55. I don't know if that really applies to every format, but they have said that before. And more than twice as many trophies earned as the next highest archetype over the past weeks. In addition to the high league win rates and large tournament metagame population, we've heard much discussion of the tendency of games to snowball from an early Regavan Nimble Pilferer, I can read, backed up by protective spells like Daze and Force of Will. And yet they didn't feel the need to ban Force of Will, which really never should have been printed, but honestly probably should be banned in every format. Because of the high power level and efficiency of Legacy's card pool, early mana and card advantage can take over a game, even more so than other formats, and apparently Legacy players haven't figured out that that's just how Legacy works, because too many cards are legal in it. And it's a mix of cards from 20 years ago that never should have interacted with modern cards, and yet we still call it a format and people still play it for some reason, and expect us to fix an inherent flaw with it that is not fixable. To weaken blue-red Delver decks and encourage more back and forth exchanges before a game is effectively decided, updated. Instead of just a coin flip to see who goes first, but let's be honest, that's still what it is. Rega Van Nimble Pilferer is banned in Legacy. Reject Legacy, return to Monkey. We'll be keeping an eye on how the Legacy format continues to evolve when we print more overpowered shit in Standard that ruins multiple other formats in the next coming weeks, and are willing to make further adjustments soon if needed. However, we feel this is a large change and would like to see how the metagame adapts before considering if other changes are necessary. I guess I got tired of writing because in the historic section, it's just like 3 sentences. And if I made the decisions that they made about historic, I would be throwing down a bullshit explanation and running away from the backlash as quickly as possible as well. Wait till you hear this. Memory Lapse has been moved from suspended to banned, so really from banned to really banned, but we thought it would somehow soften the blow to whiny net decking douchebags. And Teferi Time Raveler has been rebalanced and unbanned. Oh, you heard me. You heard me. They are unbanning Teferi Time Raveler from Historic because they rebalanced it pretty much for Alchemy, but I mean, he's not actually still legal in Standard, so like, it's not really, oh, we fixed it for Standard and it overflowed to Historic, but still, they rebalanced it, which is purely an Alchemy thing, and then unbanned it. Because we just have to give Teferi Time Raveler another shot to ruin the game. With like 5,000 other legal cards in Historic, we have to bring back just this one and absolutely play with fire, basically handing a live grenade to a toddler just to see what happens, and risk looking like morons, backtracking, and ruining the format again with this bullshit card just because we rebalanced it. Because we want to prove that rebalancing is good for Historic. Holy shit, is there going to be some backlash over this one. So let's read the little teeny tiny, 1-sentence explanations they have, which, spoiler alert, they didn't give an explanation. They pretty much just said what they did. Blue decks in Historic continue to remain strong, so Memory Lapse is officially moving from the suspended list to the ban list in Historic. Okay, how do those two things go together? Once again, it's already gone, it's suspended, so if blue decks, quote, continue to remain strong, how and why would doing nothing about it be the solution? I'm curious. And then they unbanned a blue card. Additionally, we have rebalanced Teferi Time Raveler into a form we believe is safe for Historic, and it will be removed from the ban list. Read more about the rebalances and the rebalanced Teferi Time Raveler here in this bullshit article about Alchemy that's going to piss people off. Well, that's it for this video. I'm obviously going to very shortly after make a Alchemy video, just talking about the rebalance, because, 19 cards, hello. And I guess I'm going to have to get my images elsewhere while editing this because the Gatherer is completely offline along with the API that loads cards on Mouseover. I wonder if they did that on purpose so that while people are reading this article, they don't remember what any of these cards do. I really do wonder what's behind this. Either that or people are so pissed they're DDoSing it. That'd be my guess. So there's only 2 ways to close out this video, and I'm going to do both of them. First, check out Into the AM, the sponsor of this amazing video. And one of the only ways I'm making any kind of money in January and February because the ad rates are crap. But they got this really good looking new line of joggers in case you're into the athletic life or just like living comfy. Which really are 2 opposites in my opinion. I mean, if you're one to go to Denny's in pajama pants, maybe, class it up a little, take it mid-range. You don't have to go in dress pants, but at least, wear some joggers, look like you're, an athletic enthusiast while you eat your own body weight and endless pancakes. So link in the description, use code DESKTHREADS for 10% off your order, and they actually have some crazy sales going on right now too on top of it. And yes, they do stack. But the second way I have to end this is with a classic DNN article, We're All Gonna Die. Here's the headline from the Daily Mail. Driver who stopped to help when truck carrying 100 lab monkeys crashed in Pennsylvania and put her hand in one of the cages says she now has a cough and pink eye after one of the macaques, or however you say it, hissed in her face. The woman who stopped to help monkeys in a truck crash is now feeling unwell. Crates with live monkeys inside were strewn across State Route 54 in Danville, 130 miles from Philadelphia after the crash. Oh, that's what we need is Philadelphia sports fans acting more erratic after they all get rabies. Because they're not violent and psychopathic enough. A witness said he thought he saw a cat run across the road before making the shocking realization that it was actually a fleeing primate, and not an Eagles fan. Also, I guess later in the article they mentioned that she now has COVID-like symptoms, so, what the f***? Well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we actually can't necessarily blame China for this outbreak, whatever the hell this is. I can't wait to find out in 2027 that this was all staged, they crashed it on purpose, a virus is spreading from it, and they're going to use it to delay the vote so that Democrats stay in power. I'm a little cynical at this point after 2021. So thanks for watching this wonderful ban announcement that really didn't fix shit. And let me just say they didn't do anything about Red Rush, Elves, Elf Ball, or my White Life Gain deck. So I just got to Mythic with it yesterday. Yeah. How much more do you think I'm going to win in the Diamond League if I don't have to put up with a turns deck or some Leer spell spamming horse shit? The answer is really damn quick. So they're, speaking of really damn quick, gonna have to come up with another ban announcement in about a month. And I think we're gonna see one really quickly after Kamigawa, except it won't be, it will be an Alchemy rebalance. Because like I said, they're really pushing us towards Alchemy because they only really did, like handled 2 decks from Standard. And Alchemy, I mean, they got card upgrades and card downgrades. They're really trying to fix this. Oh, and the Gatherer's back online. Oh, there you go. Good, I'm about to start editing this. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.